Good afternoon. Hopefully everybody had good lunch. So my session one is partly about welcoming you all here. It's our pleasure to be sponsoring this event second year in a row. We'll be walking you through a little bit about Motive as well for those who are not familiar. But I also wanted to take this opportunity to talk about where we see things from our perspective. So I titled my session here called The Future of Intelligent Broadband. So looking at how AI, automation, and convergence are helping to reshape the network that we build, automate, and support. So we see this as a lot of opportunity, a space that has been moving quite fast, and opportunity for all of us to contribute and participate. And I'm Jeevithan Muttu, Vice President of Product and R&D at Motive. So first of all, welcome. I think this is the third time we are meeting from the context of a summit. And the bigger and important part is that every time we meet, we see the needle moving forward. We're making progress towards the collaborative effort. This is a community that is very strong when it comes to collaboration, debating, and then jointly contributing to move things forward from the broadband perspective. So a little bit about Motive. We started about 28 years ago out of Austin, Texas, and then later grew as part of acquisition by Alcatel, then later by Nokia, and earlier last year we were spun out as a standalone company. So today we are based, HQ is based out of Canada with presence globally, and here we are as focusing. One thing to mention though, even throughout all these transitions, one thing that stayed consistent was our DNA and our focus on remote device management at large scale. So who we are, our mission is pretty simple, to remove the cost and complexity of managing today's digital services. So we manage close to 2 billion devices across fixed, mobile, and IoT. About 1 million service representatives utilize our tools and systems every day, and about 10 million self-service sessions managed on a monthly basis. So you can see that scale and that perspective gives us a good vantage point to understand the customer needs and also to get a better sense of the operator needs as well. Some of our leading customers here, we serve to about 150 plus, what I say, top tier service providers globally. Again, the involvement and the breadth speaks volume in terms of where we stand today as a company, but also our understanding of where the customer needs are and the operator needs are. Okay, that's about Motive. So let's talk a little bit about where we see from an intelligent network perspective. I believe we are in a defining moment in broadband. Never have our networks carried so much actionable data, right? I think the key is actionable data. We talk about the rich data set coming from various different endpoints. But the question is, are you able to strategically leverage that? Are you able to strategically take advantage of that? Customer expectations are rising, and more importantly, the tolerance for failure is shrinking. What do I mean by that? If you go back just a few years ago, if your provider is doing service maintenance in your neighborhood, it was expected that you would have shortage or downtime for half an hour, a couple of hours. But that's been shrinking. The broadband today that we know of has become what the telephone used to be. You pick up the phone, there's a dial tone, and that's the expectation now with broadband as well. You're home and it is expected to work. And we see this with a number of operators providing backup services through fixed wireless access and other services as well. So when your primary network is down. So technology is accelerating faster. And how do you effectively harness the AI piece as well? So I see this. One is the defining moment, and second is the opportunity to take on the optimization. What do I mean by that? The fact that the different things that are changing gives us the opportunity to collaborate and also test in ways that we haven't done before. So scalability, adaptability, and also the partnerships that we are able to redefine. Moving away from build for certainty to adapt to change. And also in terms of the metrics, measuring where we are headed, and also re-looking innovation from a bigger angle. Innovation is no longer that, once in a while or every few years, the big thing that happens, to a continuous refinement of smaller chunks of innovative things that are moving the needle. So trends and strategies and opportunities. So we see this as 5 different key trends that are shaping the future of broadband. One is broadband household penetration is maturing. So subscription-driven growth is flattening. We have seen this, we have talked about this. Operators are shifting focus from raw speed and experience to providing more experience and differentiations. And then the traditional broadband architecture that evolved more of a capacity and coverage and towards focusing on intelligent network and focusing on user experience. Number 4, speed is no longer a constraint. The real challenge is in QoE and network intelligence. And number 5, again, focusing on the service differentiations, whether it be the premium managed Wi-Fi or QoE guarantee type of services. So let's look at the home for a second. What we're seeing is that if the experience breaks in the home, it breaks a relationship. What we are able to understand in 2025 standpoint is better customer understanding comes from better data. And from a remote device management perspective, this is where we see USP or TR369 playing a key role, where it enables that on-demand insights from every connected device. And because most issues that trigger user dissatisfaction or churn happen inside the home, it is that USP and the ability to understand the customer insights that are starting to surface, and which also increases more interest towards open standards like CPE, standards focused on the devices like Purple, RDK, and OpenWRT. There was also the Omdia survey that was done jointly by Omdia and BBF this year. And there were really good insights. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, please do look at it. But one thing that I want to bring up here is we have been talking about value-added services. I borrowed this slide from Omdia's report. The dark blue here shows the 2023 report, and the lighter blue shows 2025 report. So if you look at in the middle in 2023, the challenges of bringing the value-added services back in 2023 was seen as a complexity of integration or the education aspect, whereas now we see a low customer demand as well. So what does that mean? So I think it varies from services to services, but particularly when it comes to subscribers wanting to have Wi-Fi optimization, for example, but not necessarily willing to pay for that additional services. Sometimes it's different. So the security-related activities, having in-home security type applications on your router, on your smart gateway, I think that is slightly different than having a Wi-Fi optimization solution that is standalone. Then again, you look at where the new hardware has come up along with the USB standards. Perhaps there's more opportunity to do certain things out of the box from a remote device management perspective as well. Something to take a look. The application of AI. So Motive at NetworkX a couple of weeks ago in Paris, we did our own survey, talked to a number of different attendees, specifically people from the operator side. And it was clear that the AI investment is there and the interest is there. We saw about 37% of the participants looking at implementing AI-driven network automations in the next 12 months. The top use cases are also clear. Again, was not a whole surprise, but the pace at which this adoption is happening was something new to talk about. The top use cases that stood out were the predictive maintenance, analysis of customer usage patterns, improving the broadband and network service delivery, as well as AI-powered customer care and diagnostics. So this is not about, hey, is AI fit from an operator standpoint, but more about which use case that the operators want to tackle first. So that was in terms of what I wanted to cover, but I wanted to leave with a looking forward statement on where we see from Muttu standpoint in next years and the years to come. One is, as I mentioned before, innovation is no longer seen as one big thing, version 2.0 or version 3.0, but rather a continuous refinement in smaller chunks. So take a step back, like we saw earlier this morning about crypto and the bigger changes to come in a number of years. But take a step back, because sometimes it is the day-to-day work that we do that is going to contribute to the overall shifting the needle forward from a broadband industry standpoint. So take a step back to see what you're doing today, and tomorrow that is going to contribute. So in that sense, there are three major things I think Broadband Forum does very well. One is the Plugfest and the innovation demos, which bridges the gap between the standards and the practicality. From a remote device management standpoint, the uptake in USB adoption that we continue to see as a true winner behind the scenes. When this started about 2018, 2019 period, again, we looked at it as a big bang, but over the last 4 or 5 years, this has gradually adopted to the point now there's no operators are looking at remote device management without USB. And finally, the home network and CPE for smarter management and better customer understanding. Yes, of course, from a AI standpoint, the opportunity that are there from a new revenue stream, as well as the ability to reduce OpEx. Finally, I want to leave you with the shared journey. We are here, as I mentioned before, as a collaborative group. So beyond building and shipping, we watch, adapt, and grow as one ecosystem. So with that, I want to welcome you one more time, and have a great session.